Uh, I want to say good morning to you, all my relations. I see my wife, I see my children, see my sisters, see my brothers there. Wow. Friends and family all from up and down this around the world. So we make this beautiful network, this, we call it cut. Cut is the web that is connecting to us, to all across this Mother Earth. So today we've been talking, they asked me to share a little more about what is the Paxil Cayala. What is it about these sanctuaries? And now some of us been, walking a little ways, with us in time that this is a prophecy coming through, and holding those beacons, that some people were asked to keep, like us. They said we kept the fires, ceremonial fires, and the fire starts to teach us how to talk with the waters, then how to unify it. And so that's how we've been, sailing with these winds, that we heard echoes from other people and generations before us about this time, about other times too when things got a little bit challenged. And then we, as you see, we have come across and through over and over. And sometimes this one has a lot of impact on life, on the elements. And so in the times of the visions, when we inherit this, they kept talking about sacred places. They call it Paxil Cayala. A place of many reeds translates. A place that now we see natural selections gathering, like animals and birds and certain plants, and somehow the winds are moving around where the air is going to clean, and there's water from the earth that is, like ours here, is about 10,000 years old, they said. So we're drinking water from long memories before all this was contaminated. But in the dream state, Paxil Cayala is a place that we all yearn to find in this world. Our walk starts we think it's all just about personal. Who am I? What am I here? What am I to do? The big question now for all of us is what we can do. As the prophecies share that those places will be connected to the dimensions. And so we found that in Patiapa, Guatemala, where we live, is that when I was paralyzed, and I call them now the soul extraction, 3, 4 years old, 5 years old. At first it was scary, but then it was normal. And in it, we travel to a place continuously going to live in this place. And so as we start training with the Mayan, understanding other ceremonial, we start seeing that it's a place that travels through time. Maybe a generation goes through and they'll find it. Another one will find it again if it gets lost. But others are continuous connections to the parallel universes. So Paxil Cayala, sometimes maybe we're feeling and we're yearning to co-create something beautiful, like a masterpiece, a symphony, a painting, a song, or a dance that you will someday do for life. Not for show, not for anything, but just you, a gift to creation. So these places, Paxil Cayala, is sometimes we take pilgrimages. Something keeps moving us to go and find, and finally we see a place that are like, oh wow, I could live here. This is like you find our soulmate. The human nature is to find that relationship not only to another, but to the essence of life, What is our meaning to be with the trees, with the water, with serenity and quietness and peace? Some of the spiritual people, you'll find them away from all the confusions, all the things that are in chaos. So they'll be in different places far away. And so this Paxil Cayala, some of us will search for it and finally find it. And then through it, we can start co-creating our visions. We said that it'll teach us to crystallize our visions here. So like all together now, it's like, what do we crystallize now that we are learning about our world and about our behaviors in it that we can add to life? Like they said, now we're getting a break. The land's getting a break. There's traffic and air is getting pure. So many beautiful things that it took something like this to help us reflect. But now with the human relationship is also to look at not just the element of what nature's doing or what she's going to continue doing, but what humans are intending to do. And so the key is to unify our visions and our prayers as relatives. And then like an example, like the Amish people, somebody needs a new barn, we all go over there and support. Somebody needs a house because something happened, and we all go over there and share our skills. So Paxil Cayala, I know some of you already have your beautiful gardens, your piece of land that you started to, either by your life, or changes guide us to be part of that, where we can get water right from the earth. We can, walk out and then there'll be a building or anything, but nature, go walk with the deer or see a bear or go look at the birds, And so in Paxil Cayala, it will take a lot of effort, not just the visions, because we need to retrain how to be with the land, how to be with the water, how to be in this new place with this already going through the spiritual dimensions. So there's ceremonies that we're going through. Some people already here, as you know, we're activating today and tomorrow sacred connections, like vortexes, like here the Pop High, the Suelas, the Arbors, they all have a tube, an elemental tube that connects them to the other dimensions. And so it's that energy or the intention of the ceremonies to work with the elementals, water ceremonies, the wind, the breath work, the fire ceremonies, or ceremonies where we put them all together and we take medicine and we learn to dissolve. And in that, it starts to have direct ideas, like crystallized visions that don't come from a human desire or ambition, but they're spiritual instructions. So what we have loved to do is when we hear something, like when the little girl says, activate and gather the last ceremonial fires. We did that, like, wow, boom, boom, boom. We made the councils. We gathered the knowledge for, a lot of medicine people, a lot of beautiful elders. And then, now look where we are. The recommendations were given then. Yeah, we gotta strengthen the sanctuaries. We have to visit each other. So we did some visits. We went to Colorado, met a lot of you, did ceremonies. From there, we all went to Guatemala and so forth, Beautiful journey. But little did we know what that little goddess, that little girl was saying. You're going to need your light body. Now we're getting bombarded by all this sickness and radars and G5s and all these fears and so forth. But we're still, not afraid of those things. We're not allowing it to come into our spiritual body. And yes, sometimes we go through the motions and then we got to help each other to get through it. Because it's like a funnel, funneling everything into a co-creating of Paxil Cayala. Many places like acupuncture places, ceremonial places, where each person has his fire. It has his medicine. It has his buildings, like a sacred geometry creates energy fields. And medicine wheel, a pyramid, a sweat lodge, it creates spiritual connections to those different dimensions. So this is the recommendations that we've been following about Paxil Cayala. And then as we started traveling through the world, they asked us to activate the trade routes. The trade routes were not just to go trade goods, feathers for stones or food for seeds, but the stories, the co-sharing of what the hummingbird medicine does is pollinate, the butterfly medicine. Pollinate to transform, to be reborn. In Paxil Cayala, it has that ability to do incredible plays like healing, like unifying. It starts to create an energy that attracts not just humans, but elemental forces, spiritual forces. Animals starts to gather, and you'll start seeing where the frogs are healthy, the water comes from the earth is healthy. It starts to see that there's all these nations already gathering at Paxil Cayala. And then, as we know, a lot of people now are starting to really connect to the ability of our mind. And when we use an example, our ceremonial fires, that intentionally the fire becomes like this laptop. This laptop is not connected to anything right now, but it sends a signal to the router. The router goes and talks to the satellite. The satellite now is shot all over to where we see each other instant. The fires are thousands of times stronger than this. Our prayer, our collective prayer, is like we send a signal to the sun, or we send it through the earth, or we send it just with the holographic abilities of our mind to send a prayer without any limitations. So then the beacons of Paxil Cayala, the different centers, the ceremonial places where there's not just growing food, it's not just prayer, but it starts to come all together. The prayer to request permission, the prayer to give thanks, the prayer to send out the blessings to our relationships, the prayers to say thank you for the spiritual instructions that are coming into us. So I know many of you already have had or been in relationship or are in relationship with healing centers or sanctuaries, and we call them Paxil Cayala. Now is another aspect of it, because it's going to need to protect itself. Like the eggs, as gentle as they are, they have a protective energy that we can't even compress it as they're sitting. We won't break it. But there is another part where it breaks. So the Paxil Cayala, we must find one that we do break to bust out of that limitation, but also a strength between us that is not broken in any way, shape, or form. And so the ceremonial, that conversation with God, conversation with the elements is a key. However you pray, however in what language, or if it's just a song or whatever it is, that connection is true. And we can start connecting the frequencies of our Paxil Cayalas. But again, too, we must get into with the shovel and relearn how to make the compost, how to take care of the worms, all the way up to having bees and be part of that cycle. And all along is the ceremonies, the dance for the bee, the dance of the flowers, the prayers of the staffs of life, which some of you have done. We tie the flowers on those staffs and the energy changes, and then we use that to bless the soul and all the 7 bodies of each other. The greatest thing to bless each other with love and appreciation for each other. And that's what's been hard for so many, to be able to get to that place, to honor each other's great successes, to see your most beautiful song, to see like, wow, this one is preserving seeds. This Paxil Cayala is like an essence for the seeds, and this one's got the songs, and this one's got the dances, and here's the elders connecting, and here's the young people with new techniques and relearning what it needed to never be disconnected. So this has been the invitation. I know some of you, the beautiful Paxil Cayala that you are co-creating. We encourage more, and soon enough to start traveling to each other again as spiritual pilgrimages of the trade routes. See, trade ideas, trade the prayer, trade the energy. Be able to make that exchange so it's thriving for each other. And that's kind of here what we wanted to, it's not like everybody needs to move from the cities and run to the mountains, It should have been long ago. But now is to start to find where's the alliance with each other. Who is it that's going to have your back when you're wounded or you can't walk or you don't have nothing, that they will give you part of theirs. That is love. We need to find who do we love. Who is it that we have the beauty, because one of the main tools, the keys for getting into Paxil Cayala is love. To create a beautiful piece of art is love. To be able to admire another is love. Can I use your idea to ours? Can we share that? Oh, look, I'll trade you this this idea for that one, and consider it to see if we can put it together. So it's like building a pyramid or a house of cards. It must start slow and with idea. There's 13 different levels of ceremonial preparations to anchor one of these tubes. It's not just start doing a ceremony either. And yes, we will have that relationship, and then we can get very, very technical, so to speak, very powerful, into creating not just a maloca, a roundhouse for ceremony, but to infuse it with spirit. Request that those spirits will live there. That when we open the door to Paxil Cayala, the dimensions will collapse into one. So then all 13 dimensions are reachable. We said door in and door out. May all become good. Open the door, we go in. When we leave, we close the door. So there's a lot of things that we grow into learning if this house is to hold that kind of a energy, that kind of a prayer. And so that's how we've done the Paxil Cayala at Patsiapa. It's a house to see infinity times 13. You start seeing the mechanical and the mathematical equation of what this Paxil Cayala is. It becomes also a mechanical tool. The things go in and out. We request spirits to come in for what? Healing, nurturing, teaching, or we send out, we go into to go learn, to go into our schools in Paxil Cayala. And so this is kind of what we wanted to share, because today, 13-ish, it is the empowerment of the sacred site, of that efforts that we call our sanctuaries, our efforts to have a beautiful garden. I know many of you sometimes get, tired of receiving flower pictures. I take pictures of flowers that we grow all over Patsiapa or here, It's like the flowering of our souls with each flower. That connection to Paxil Cayala is that each of those tiny flowers is a soul at its full potential. And what makes it happen to make love is to go and admire it, to talk to, sing to, oh, beautiful flowers. Wow, and you dance around that bush. And some of them, as you know, incredible teachers. Later, they will teach you why to dance around the bush, why pray at the foot of a tree, why put your forehead on a beautiful stone, a great altar, and to connect your Paxil Cayala. It's like we have a mobile, like you have a mobile phone, we have a mobile Paxil Cayala. Those prayers, that ability to turn on the switch, and then no matter where you are, you find that connection through that sacred prayer. And later we'll be able to recognize so many, but like some people, some measurements, they say, well, our mountains got more ions, positive ions or negative ions. It's become science, like metal detectors. You see that there's metal right there. Why does the machine tell us the truth when we have that same ability? So we go and we start walking the woods, and we finally find a place that has attracted for millions of years that spiritual connection to another dimension in this world itself. And that's the rebirth again of the spiritual connections. Rebirth of people inspire themselves again to create the pyramid, to teach about integration with the universe, about dancing with the seasons, about being part of the changes of earth, being a part of the evolution of our mind and of our spirits. And that's where we are. We've been talking this since 2012, and they said the marker, the galactic marker is 0, and we begin the new era. And the Mayan never said it was going to be the end of the world. It said it was the end of the 5th world and the beginning of the 6th. And that's where we are living. We are the carvers of the new stone. We are the co-creators of the new prophecy for the 6th sun. The people made out of honey. Activating their home, their places, like you build a kiva, no matter if it's in the suburbs, is there, and it starts to be activated, and it starts to pulse, and it starts to connect to that pulse will go universally, and somebody else, let's say here, Deer Mountain, we start a ceremony, and that kiva and that arbor becomes one arc of energy, and everything in between gets to be blessed. Just like these laptops. Nobody will say we will see each other instantly across to Norway, to Hawaii, to Mexico, to Brazil, to Sweden. And so the same with our Paxil Cayalas. When we get ready, we'll make those designs of the medicine wheel and activate it to become beacons of communication between all of us. Then we start supporting that frequency and all the spiritual instructions that each and one of you is receiving. And we all support each other. The energy, the prayers, the resources, or when we start traveling, we go down to my cousins and help them build a beautiful maloca in the rainforest in Mexico. Or I would love to go back to Sweden and go over there and celebrate with those sacred fires with my family, with you, and so forth. And then, as we know, we have seen each other around those ceremonies where we ask the question now, what did we lose by following spiritual instructions? We had beautiful time. We had really happy time. We had very loving time. Very learning. We learned so much in that time. We were thought about how to be underneath the sacred trees, the cottonwoods, the oak trees, the big cedars, the beautiful, amate trees, to sit underneath those trees in council. And we saw that go to Colorado, to Guatemala, and gather around those sacred trees, creating that little fire. And then our web, instead of these machines, we're gonna continue doing it. As one time the beautiful painted arrow got all the sound chambers throughout the world. That at a certain time, at a certain place, all around, everybody together to send that frequency of this ceremonial connection from Paxil Cayala, showing that there can be a beautiful gardens, there can be diversity, there can be right there the ceremonial part where we heal ourselves, where we eat good food, where we have good play, where we learn and share with each other. And so what have we lost up to now? We got fresh water, we got land, we got to see the animals, we get to co-create our visions, we get to have love and make love with each and one of you, get to learn from each other, get to be enjoyous just seeing each other, like, wow, you look good, oh great, man, we're still here and sharing this beauty. So we haven't lost anything, but many are lost right now because we hesitated too long. This next jump, we're gonna have to like those staffs, like what they've been teaching us. You pierce into the earth, and then you'll see the design someday when that happens in the water, how the waves, the design that it makes when we go forward. One person. When we have a bunch of people around the water and it all pushes, you'll see the flower of life being co-created right in front of us. All the circles mingle with each other to create that sacred geometry. And with that sacred geometry, it's a force that nobody can block it. Nobody can do nothing with it. And they will feel the change and the shift in their minds, in their feelings, in their emotions. And we finally start to really empower each other. So Paxil Cayala is to go dream. Find that mountain, find that spring, find that what's calling you. Co-create something, even just a dance. I found that tree, my soul companion. I found those rocks or that cave. That's my soul companion. I found you, my soul companion, my sister. I found you, my brother. And so that's the power that is now in becoming awareness, no longer just an idea or something to imagine, but it starts to be a stone in our hands, a jewel that is in our grasp, because we're starting to see each other, we're starting to be more in awareness, how delicate things can fall and how fast they can fall. So we need each other to tie in the circle. Start tying the staffs together in ceremony, gather up and say, look how many staffs we got here. Hold hands around those circles. Activate this energy we need at this time. Make the circles to drum through the nights, to sit up and pray. And this Paxil Cayala is in a live place. It becomes the constant connector between us and the dimensions.